Namo Om Vishnu Badhaya Krishna Pushtaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pachaline Nivasesha Shanyavari Pashtatara Satarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Om Jnanatvarantasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshumritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Hare Krishna. Okay, so let's pick up from where we left off last week. One second. Okay, here it is. As usual, we'll do a little brief overview, but we need your help. We need if you can remember something, as usual, we ask if you remember something of last week, of the topics that we discussed. This slide might give it away. Anything that you took home with you that was embedded into your memory. Qualification for an advancement in pure devotional service.
We spoke about these three levels of qualifications.
Yeah, what's the name of that?
Kanishta, Madhya, and Uttamadhikari.
Yes, correct. Hare Krishna. Yes. All right, that's enough for us to get going. Thank you, Alexander Babu. Okay. So yeah, we'll just do, as usual, quick review. So 3 levels of qualification. So the word for qualification is adhikar. So according to one's degree of faith and knowledge, faith in scripture and knowledge of scripture and faith in general, one is considered to be either Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyam Adhikari, or Uttama Adhikari. Then we gave so Adhikari means one's eligibility for engaging in pure devotional service. So on the strength of one's faith and knowledge. So then we gave a basic definition. This is from Bhakti Rasmrita Sindhu. So we're going straight to the top. One who's expert in logic and in understanding the revealed scriptures, and who's always has firm conviction and deep faith that is not blind, is to be considered the topmost devotee in devotional service. So that's Uttama Adhikari. And then coming down, Madhyama. So he may not know, he has faith in the deity, has faith, has firm faith, but may not be so well versed in scripture. It's mentioned here in a scriptural argument. They're considered to be a second class. So their qualification is one step down, Adhikari. Then we have the Kanishta Adhikari. Again, I mentioned last week, these photos have nothing to do with this. One whose faith is very strong, who's not very strong, excuse me, who's just beginning, should be considered to be a neophyte devotee. Now, what was interesting about this discussion, as we brought up here, Maharaj gives the example of 3 youths applying for a university place. Yep. And according to their previous, yeah, let me just read this here. So one on the application for the place, one does fair, one does good, one does excellent. So we mentioned the main point we wanted to mention here is that for us to obtain the Lord's mercy in order to practice pure devotional service in the full sense of the term, we have to upgrade our adhikar to uttam. Yeah, that's the qualification which we're aspiring for as progressive sadhakas. To move, we want to be moving from Kanishta to Madhyam to Uttam. Yeah, so that was interesting point there, is that we don't want to be static. We want to be moving. That's what devotional service is about making advancement, going forward. So that was so qualification according to faith and knowledge. Then we looked at 3 levels of advancement in general according to attachment and love. And he's also given 3 categories here. And first one, or the lowest one, Prakrita Bhakta, Madhyam Bhakta, Uttama Bhakta. And we gave a definition of each one. I don't know why I put this picture here of these 3 Matajis. I was looking at it today. I am not saying that these 3 ladies are Prakrita Bhaktas, okay? It's just a photo I pulled up off the net and put it there, All right, so a Prakrita Bhakta, more or less materialistic, can be seen as materialistic from one perspective, does not purposefully study Sastra, try to understand the actual standard of pure devotional service. That's called Varanadas, where one studies systematically in order to understand the path of pure devotional service. So they consequently, they're not so much in knowledge. They don't really know who is advanced. They're confused about who is advanced and they're confused about their own position. They're confused about everyone else's situation. So that in that regards, they may not offer proper respect to advanced devotees. That's definition of Prakrita Bhakta. And there's quite a bit here. If you want to read more, you can look in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, chapter 2, text 47. There's quite a few notes I have here, but we're just doing a quick review. And then Madhyama, same picture here. Yeah. Intermediate or second class devotee. The devotee offers his love, prema matra kripopeksha, offers his love to the Supreme Lord, is sincere friend to the devotees of the Lord, shows mercy to the ignorant people who are innocent, and disregards those who are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's so again, qualification according to attachment and love. We've got Prakrita Bhakta, Madhyam Bhakta, and we got the Uttama Bhakta. Yeah. So these are most advanced devotees. They don't just have theoretical knowledge. Their eyes are salved with the tinge of love, as described in the Brahma Samhita. These are the most advanced. So they see within everything. They see it spontaneously. It's just a symptom of their pure heart. That's how they see the world. They see the soul of all souls within everything, Krishna. He sees systematic everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, and understand that everything exists, is eternally situated within the Lord. So that is a God-conscious person. Yeah, they are conscious of God. Yeah, that's the Uttama Bhaktas. And we gave the example of Prahlad Maharaj. Anyone could remember that example? How does Prahlad Maharaj? Remember that example we gave last week? Anyone can remember? How does Prahlad Maharaj exemplify an Uttama Bhakta of seeing the Lord everywhere? He was challenged by his father, Hiranyakashipu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vijay Krishna Prabhu. Hare Krishna, nice to hear you. Yes.
Yes, the feeling is mutual, Murli Prabhu. When one of the symptoms of Prahlad Maharaj being a pure devotee is that when he was asked by Lord Nrsimhadev for Lord Nrsimhadev to bestow upon him a benediction,
yes,
he asked he mentioned that, oh no, my relationship with you is not a business, like a business transaction.
Transaction, yeah.
Uh, and if you want to give me any benediction, I would like for you to make it disappear from my heart
Yeah.
any type of material desire.
Yeah, that's it. That's definitely if you want to have a clear picture of a pure devotee, of course, there's many places you can go in the Bhagavatam, but specifically Prahlad Maharaj is one. All the symptoms of a pure soul. But specifically, I brought up last week this vision of seeing the Lord everywhere, where Prahlad mentions to his father that the Lord is everywhere. So, as a typical demon, then Hiranyakashipu is, or atheist demon, he's saying, so show me where is your God then? Then Prahlad said, he's everywhere. But then Hiranyakashipu kind of sarcastically said, so is he in this pillar? And Prahlad said, yes. So I mentioned that last week. So then the story unfolds. He smashes the pillar, and then Lord Sringadev comes and tears him to pieces. Haribol. So Prahlad Maharaj is there, his vision, he sees in his vision. But there's also a wonderful point that Vijay mentioned. And then, so it's the Uttama Bhaktas who, we've seen this, we mentioned the 26 qualities of a devotee. So the Uttama Bhakta, the one with the topmost attachment and love, has all these qualities which are mentioned here. And this is where we kind of left off last week. I think we just read this last week. So there, let's just read it again. It's very good just to hear these qualities. It kind of gives you some aspiration to attain them. Yeah, so devotees are always merciful, humble. So don't forget always, okay? Always merciful, always humble, always truthful, always equal to, I say always to emphasize it, always faultless, always magnanimous, always mild, always clean, always without material possessions. They perform welfare work for everyone. They are always peaceful, always surrendered, always desireless. They are indifferent to material acquisitions. They are fixed in devotional service. Always they control the six bad qualities mentioned there. Always they only eat as much as required. Okay. Always they are not inebriated. Always they are respectful, grave, compassionate, without false prestige. They are friendly, poetic, expert, and silent. So that's the symptoms of a Uttama Bhakta. Now, sadhakas may have these qualities, of course, as devotees to like some degree. It doesn't mean they don't have them unless one is an Uttama, but they're fully manifest in the Uttama. All right, so no, did I miss something? Yeah, I missed all. Yeah. Now, you see, we've highlighted the surrender to Krishna. So that's the principle. Yeah, that's the principle one from which all the others will manifest. That principle of surrender to Krishna. And that's the whole process of applying oneself to Krishna consciousness according to the Sastra, according to the directions of Sharanagati. So this is the root which sustains and nourishes all the other qualities will manifest from that. Yeah. Yeah, so in essence, Maharaj gives in essence what that is. What surrender to Krishna mean? It's a big discussion. You could ask, I'm sure each of us can give a different description of what it means to surrender to Krishna, and you'll all be right. But Maharaj gives one here that, my Lord, I am yours. Yeah, one hands oneself over to the Lord. Yeah, one kind of not just externally, but internally, one hands oneself over to the Lord in much the same way that Draupadi, she put her hands up when all was it was pointless in when she was being disrobed. My Lord, I am yours. So this actually has a specific effect. Maharaj mentions it illuminates the heart, this internal handing over one's life to God. I hope I don't sound like a Christian. Hand yourself over to the Lord your God. Yeah, it's the only way. There is no other way. Yeah. Okay. So Krishna, Maharaj mentions Krishna is very kind and affectionate towards his bhaktas. So he will reciprocate in kind with his devotees. And he will fulfill their desire for what? Well, this whole discussion, Suddha Bhakti Cintamani, is about desire for pure devotion. So by Krishna's grace, what's that? Shimvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Swava Kirtana Hritisto Patrani Vitonoti Saritsatam. So from that basic principle of handing oneself over to Krishna, Krishna will make us forget our attraction to material life. Yeah. Sounds like a good deal? Yes. Yeah. So, okay, any questions as usual, please feel free to ask, or anything needs or any clarification. We just so in conclusion, so as we advance, hopefully we want to be advancing, moving in our spiritual life. So one is termed, as we mentioned, either neophyte, intermediate, or advanced. Now, Marge then speaks here the relationship between qualification for, as the first, what we mentioned at first, and actual advancement. So to achieve, as we mentioned, to achieve loving devotion, we have to be qualified for it. And we have to have, and that qualification should be at the level Uttam, as we have mentioned, by qualification of faith and knowledge. Yeah. Now, one may be at this stage of Uttam Adhikari. Yeah. So they've attained the highest qualification. So just follow this. I wish I'd put this on the slide to make it a bit more easier to follow. So the person, let me just flash through a few slides. The person here, the Uttama here, okay, someone who's a Uttama, let me go back here. May not necessarily be an Uttam Bhakta. They may not necessarily be here. Right, so just hang on there, just follow. It's just follow this as best as we can. Hopefully become more clear. All right, so just repeat that again. So someone who has the highest adhikar qualification, it doesn't necessarily make them, they're not necessarily on the highest stage of love and attachment. The highest stage can be qualified as a Mahabhagavat. Now, someone who is at this, they have the highest qualification, they still may be conditioned soul at the stage of advancement called Ruchi and Ashakti. So they're still conditioned. The stage of Bhava is a stage of being liberated. So in other words, someone that has the highest qualification, they're not automatically in Uttama Bhakta. Okay, there may be an advanced Madhyam Bhakta. All right, Maharaj then gives an example to help us to understand this. So say if someone's they got great business sense to become a millionaire. So they got the adhikar, they got the intelligence, they got the know-how, so they got the adhikar. But it doesn't make him a millionaire. He's got the adhikar, but he may not be a millionaire. But the qualification to gather wealth is one thing, but someone who possesses it is something else. And that's a Mahabhagavat actually possesses it. Someone at the stage of Uttam has their so if they keep going, they're going to get it. Yeah, someone at Uttam Adhikari. Yeah. Now, now then we mentioned something which yeah, I think easy. Pretty sure I saw him coming today. Ramana Sukha, he's here today. Ramana Sukha is here. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you for joining us. Ramana pulled up this point yesterday about spiritual masters in a disregard. So I'm on the controls today because Sachar is not here, so I'm letting people in. But I'm letting people in, but I'm not letting anyone out. You have to go, you have to leave yourself.
Go, I can help.
Oh, you're here. Okay, Mother Gayatri. It seems to be okay at the moment. I think there's not so much traffic coming in and out. If it gets a bit difficult to manage, I can make you a co-host, yeah? But thanks for the offer. Yeah. Okay. Everyone's following us so far? Some nods of heads, some thumbs up. Jai, Alexander's give me a thumbs up. Okay. So here's Marge is now going to introduce a long-standing controversy. Anyone like to discuss controversies? A long-standing controversy. So does one need to be a Mahabhagavat to be a spiritual master? Okay. Now, I won't ask that question, but that's the question that's being posed here. Does one need to be a Mahabhagavat to be a spiritual master? Some of you might already understand where we're going here. So Prabhupada, as evidence for yes, they do have to be a Mahabhagavat. Devotees will quote from Nectar of Instruction, verse 5, where perhaps I should have put a quote up here, but Prabhupada says, one should not become a spiritual master unless he has attained the platform of Uttam Adhikara. Uttam Adhikari. Now, we've made clear that an Uttam Adhikari may be a conditioned soul at the stage of taste or attachment. So what happens is people not understanding these different terms and qualifications. One Prabhupada says one should not become a spiritual master until he's attained a platform of Uttam Adhikari. They think until you've attained a Mahabhagavat platform. Prabhupada says it. No, he's saying unless he's attained a platform of Uttama Adhikari. So they may still be conditioned soul at the stage of, say, Nishta, Ruchi, and the Shakti. Yeah, so just read it. By now, it should be clear that an Uttama Adhikari may be either conditioned soul at the stage of taste or attachment, or can be a fully liberated soul at the stage of ecstasy in love. They have been gifted with that mercy because of their higher qualification. But it doesn't automatically mean it. Yeah. Now, we have to, but in either case, the Uttama Adhikari, they're best suited to be spiritual masters because they have the highest qualification of their faith and knowledge. Remember, that was the definition. They have the highest qualification of faith and knowledge, and they cannot be deviated. They cannot become born-again Christians or become a Muslim, with all due respect to those faiths. They cannot be deviated by arguments of non-devotees. Now, there is exceptional circumstances, they may fall down, but generally not. Yeah. So we follow so far? Yeah. And then Maharaj quotes Prabhupada and Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He says that these Uttama Adhikari Vaishnavas can be recognized by their ability to convert many souls to Krishna consciousness. So that's the prime duty of a spiritual master. But it might not be Mahabhagavats. And there was an interesting lecture. If any of you go on Dandavat's website called ISKCON website called Dandavats, they put a lecture up there by Banu Swami that he gave in February earlier this year, and I was there for that lecture. And Banu Swami speaks on this subject specifically, making it clear that just getting the title spiritual master doesn't mean you're a Mahabhagavat. And he discusses this topic. It doesn't mean they're not either. It doesn't mean they automatically are, but they may be. It doesn't mean just that title doesn't mean they automatically are. Okay, so you can look at that. Dandavat Banu Swami lecture, Mayapur, early this year, February. Yeah. Now, now of course, if you want to take initiation, it's preferable to take initiation from a perfected devotee, because say a Mahabhagavat, because they can infuse as Prabhupada, tremendous, almost can say supernatural power, bhakti, bhakti shakti, you could say, to infuse their followers with great faith. Yeah. Now, Maharaj Peak brings up quite soberly at this point. In this world, actually, such perfected devotees may be rare. Yeah. He mentions here, I'll just read it. But in a world where perfected devotees are rare, and where Lord Chaitanya, at the same time they're rare, Lord Chaitanya still expects all devotees to preach. Practitioners with the topmost qualification. So practitioners with the topmost qualification, they're not Mahabhagavats, but they have qualification of deep faith and knowledge. They may serve as gurus, but they're not necessarily perfected devotees. Yeah, they have the qualification because they have deep faith and knowledge, so they can act to guide others. And Prabhupada, as we know, Prabhupada envisioned, how many gurus did Prabhupada envision? Millions. Prabhupada said this in 1976. Envisioned the world needed millions of gurus, millions. I think as it stands at more, I forget the number, but the amount of, there's a shortfall at the moment for the amount of devotees in the larger congregation of our international society. There's if each guru was to have, if everyone was to take initiation like next week, then each guru would have, I can't remember the exact number, but they would have something like 15,000 15,000 disciples. But so that's another subject. So we need millions of gurus. So it doesn't mean everyone's going to be a Mahabhagavat. Yeah. So this is Kali Yuga. It's an emergency. So even less qualified, those Madhyam Adhikaris can act as guru, even. Yeah. Madhyamas. And also Kanishtas, Prabhupada mentions in the purple. But it should be understood that, say, if someone's a Kanishta, generally one wouldn't, we should be educated. The point I'm making here, that they won't be able to guide their dependents very well. So it's kind of a handicap here. I just read it. Still, it is a fact that their weaker faith and inferior learning handicaps these gurus to attempt to guide their disciples. And a quote from Prabhupada here. A neophyte Vaishnava or a Vaishnava situated on the intermediate platform can also accept disciples, but such disciples must be on the same platform, and it should be understood that they cannot advance very well towards the ultimate goal of life under his insufficient guidance. Now, Guru Tattva can be quite a complicated topic, but is this okay? Is this it's making some sense? Yeah. Now, this then brings up, this is in relation to Alexander. He sent me a very interesting question. Judging, so sometimes, so devotees are often apprehensive because we're speaking about qualification and advancement. Yeah. So if we're aspiring to take initiation at some point, we've got to judge Vaishnavas. Sounds a bit strange. Yeah. So sometimes there's one maybe it sounds to actually understand this. So devotees are often apprehensive about judging a Vaishnava's qualification and advancement. So is it offensive? You want to take initiation, you're inspired about Krishna consciousness, and you just heard a lecture about from Suddha Bhakti Cintamani. Okay, what level of knowledge he has is, what level of faith he has, Isn't it offensive? Well, according to Prabhupada's comment, as we mentioned, no, Rupa Goswami advises in the fifth verse of Upadesham Rita, that he calls it refined. Marge mentions refined discrimination is recommended. So these classes and studying scripture will give us some basis to be able to ascertain someone's someone's eligibility or someone's capability of giving guidance. So we're supposed to have that basic knowledge, and that comes from studying Prabhupada's books. That's why before you take initiation, you should have read Srila Prabhupada's books, studied in Srila Prabhupada's books, because then you have some knowledge, you have some qualification to actually be able to identify a person who can guide you and help deliver you. Okay. So yeah. Yeah, in fact, such refined discrimination, just reading here directly from Suddha Bhakti Cintamani, is recommended, and both acharyas advise that devotees cultivate it while always showing the appropriate respect to Vaishnavas. Okay, we're always respectful to all Vaishnavas, but we want to be a little bit discerning, have some refined discrimination. Just like if a mother wants to, she's really keen that her children get educated. So she's going to check out the different schools, and check out the different teachers and, are they eligible? Are they qualified in order to teach my children? Or if you want to go to university, you want to study under someone, study music, you want to study whatever you want to study Sanskrit, you want to be confident that they have the required knowledge in order to actually teach you. They have the required qualification to actually teach you. So therefore, we have to kind of have some understanding of what it means, to be capable. Now, then Marge brings out here this point of the problem that's happened in the past to to automatically accept that anyone in the capacity of a spiritual master as a Mahabhagavat. Yeah. So and he mentions I guess it's real time, real life. He mentions in his opinion, it is an error that is both widespread and even encouraged in ISKCON. Yeah, Abhanu Swami speaks about this as well. And then Marge brings out about the successive fall down of senior gurus acting in that position. It doesn't happen so much now. Still, it happens, but not so much. So he mentions here that devotees, the guru, let me just read again here. The successive fall down of senior gurus is evidence that devotees exalted by wishful thinking may not be exalted at all. Spiritual masters do not become perfect souls by dint of their serving as initiating gurus. Neither do they become perfect simply because they are supported by zealous neophyte disciples. Okay, that's Maharaj speaking quite strongly here. But we should look upon the Guru the same time as our deliverer. He is representing God. Yeah. That's how the Shishya should look towards the Guru, not as God, but he is representing God. And that's a common culture in the East, the common culture in India. Even the unexpected guest is to be treated as God. Yeah. So we should offer respect as they are representing God, and especially the Guru, Shakshat Tatritvena. Yeah. I remember one time I was in South India and I was doing some treatment and some panchakarma treatment, and in the morning do yoga, and there was one Brahmin who was teaching me there. So each time he would come, I would pay my obeisances to him because he's my teacher. He's teaching me yoga. So I pay my obeisances to him, and he would accept it because he's teaching yoga. I don't know anything about yoga, I pay my obeisance to him in the morning, when I see him. And then the relationship was very sweet, I would, like that. So how an indication of a devotee's degree of advancement, as what we just is here. Let's go back here. Here. Yeah. The qualities that are, describes here even, Sorry, scrolling down. The discernible qualities that have been described in scripture. So that's mean we have to read and study to some degree, to a large degree, hopefully, before we actually take initiation into the school of Bhakti. We want to be somewhat educated. Any questions on this topic? Kind of clear? The main point is we're making that just because one's initiating spiritual master doesn't mean they're Mahabhagava or topmost devotee, but they might be as well. Okay? It doesn't automatically mean just because you got that post. It's just like, if I become head pujari, it doesn't make me a Mahabhagava. Okay? It's a duty that one performs. If you become temple president, doesn't mean you're a Mahabhagava. If you become the temple commander, doesn't mean so this role of spiritual master is one sense it's a it's what's the word for it? Anyway, Ramana Sukapu, please, you have your hand raised. I'm sure you have
Yeah, thank you.
points.
No, it's a great discussion, and you're covering it very nicely with Maharaj's writings about it as well.
Yeah.
But this is a confusing point that a devotee is necessarily having to make some kind of a judgment or discernment
Yes.
about who are they looking at towards a potential spiritual master. What
Mm.
I tell devotees may be helpful
Please.
is first of all, you have to feel there's a rapport. There has to be a give and a take between guru and disciple, not simply one way where the guru is expecting, praise and worship, but he doesn't give back to the disciple also in some way, shape, or form. So there has to be rapport. And the main thing is in rapport, there has to be trust. So it's very personal. No one can tell another devotee, oh, this is your guru. They have to figure that out for themselves. This is my guru. I trust this person. And another thing that I tell devotees is that do you feel he's inspiring you in your connection to Prabhupada? Now, not in a Rik way, but still, the guru becomes a transparent via media, not only to Krishna, but to Srila Prabhupada as the founder Acharya of ISKCON. So they have to feel that this person is transparent, not translucent, and and then there's ego issues involved. But if it's actually a transparent connection, this person is connecting me to Prabhupada. I feel inspired to serve Prabhupada, read Prabhupada's books, pray to Prabhupada, make my own personal connection to Prabhupada, even though he's not on the planet. Then that's also good. So he's transparent connection to Krishna and to Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah. Thank you, Ramasuka. Some very, very interesting and good points. Yeah. And as Ramanath Sukha said, it is a very personal thing. Yeah, and it's going to be arranged by Krishna. If one is sincere, as it's said, by Krishna's mercy, one gets Guru, and by Guru's mercy, one gets Krishna. So as we're practicing Krishna consciousness, then the desire or the inclination to take initiation will manifest by the grace of Krishna. And then, as Ramana Sukha is nicely saying, there should be some type of rapport, some type of relationship, some type of personal relationship. Now, without going to the whole spiritual master and disciples course here right now, but one thing I just mentioned myself as well, which I often mention if I might teach this course, is that you may be inspired by a certain spiritual master who has 50,000 disciples, okay? Don't think you're going to get much personal association with him, okay? He might not even remember your name in 4 or 5 years' time. But if you're happy and you feel his sense of empowerment coming from his lectures, and that is sustaining you, and you're working under guidance of his disciples, then that's fine. Because sometimes devotees have approached me where they're kind of complaining that they don't get hardly none opportunity to have a personal interaction with their guru. Well, he has 50,000 disciples. How is it possible? It may not be possible unless you're one of the, unless you're on the top, you've got a big responsibility. And, just some things to keep in mind. I mean, that's one. It doesn't mean if a guru has 50,000 disciples, you shouldn't take initiation. You may be completely inspired by listening to his lectures and just by the effulgence of his devotional service. It may inspire you greatly. Just like many disciples of Prabhupada didn't get so much personal association, but they were so inspired by him, by his effulgence, by his example. So that's one thing I have to mention. Yeah. Any questions on this or comments before we might go on to the next slides? Ramanath Sukhaprabhu, you have your hand raised again, and then Alexander. Is that the same hand, Ramanath? Or...
I think he didn't.
Okay. Alexander Ji?
I was wondering if it basically forgot a bhakta recognize another bhakta, and to what degree one can recognize at whatever that person level is. If somebody's in Kanishta and he wants to associate with someone in Uttama, can he only recognize based on the study of those symptoms just like a spark of his?
Well, if so, someone may not be able to recognize if they're a stage of Kanishta. It's going to be time. It's going to be some time spent chanting the holy name, some time associating with devotees, some time in listening to Srimad Bhagavatam class. Some purification is going to be needed before they're able to make some type of discrimination, intelligent discrimination. First, one first joins, one has got no idea who is who. One's got no idea when one first starts to associate with devotees. One's got no idea who is who. And I've seen that sometimes as well, where you got someone new in the temple, they just treat. I remember one time Kripa Moya was there for Mangaladin, one new devotee had. He kind of stood right in front of him about one, he obviously didn't recognize who he was. He didn't know who he was. He had no idea. But in one sense, that's kind of innocent. We're not expecting him to know who is who. But after some time, through purification, one is able to make some type of not discern. Yeah, one we have to discern. Yeah, who is who to some degree. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that okay, Alexander? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So devotion recognizes devotion, but still, it takes one to recognize one ultimately.
Yeah, at the stages of prema and bhava, someone who's experiencing those symptoms is going to recognize them in someone else. Someone at the stage of nishta, they're going to recognize someone else at the stage of nishta. Yeah, someone who's also fixed in devotional service. Yeah, as I said, it takes one to know one, and it makes it a bit more difficult. I don't know if difficult is the right word, because especially in the stages of the symptoms of bhava and ecstasy, devotees will keep these hidden. So then you're going to go to Nectar of Devotion, where it describes 9 specific qualities of of those at bhava that cannot be hidden and cannot be imitated. And Rupa Goswami gives those 9 symptoms. One of those is that person doesn't waste any time. I mean, Did the Prabhupada waste any time? Did you see Prabhupada playing snooker or playing golf? Or wasting time? No. So there's other and great humility. So he gives 9 symptoms which cannot be imitated and cannot be hidden as well. So that give you an idea. We won't go through them right now. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to pull up the next one here. Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Any questions? Now we're moving on to chapter 9. Let's have a time check. Got 15 minutes left, so that's good. Okay. Jalapur, you have your hand raising?
Yes, sorry, I couldn't find the.
You couldn't find the button.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna,
My
please. Yeah.
obeisances. To go back to talk about the guru and the devotee, and he has to be reciprocated.
Yes.
Okay, so I found the guru I aspired to, and when I got to know he was coming to London, I was mortified because I thought, no, he shouldn't come to me. I should make the effort also to go to him. So I got to know where he was. I went there. I had this association, and I asked for pranam mantra, and then he asked me about the journey, and I said, well, I was mortified for you to come to London. I had to come to you first. And I think he really appreciated, and I invested. I didn't expect to be served by my guru for him to come and to give me the mantra. Then I actually travel to come and to be with him and to be with this association. I think it's a form of respect also. It kind of work both ways, You have also to put in some effort, I think, with your guru to seek his, because you can meet him. I mean, you can save up. It could take 2 years if you save up maybe, but it's good to put in to go to see him and to show also.
Yeah. You're going to have to, it's not going to land in your lap. The guru's not
Yeah,
land in your lap. You have to kind of extend yourself, especially if you're feeling inspired. Then you're going to want to seek out, you want to hear from him more as well. Yeah, so it's a good point. So so he appreciated your sincerity. He appreciated.
yeah, and I was very talkative, and we talk about Ayurveda because I'm an Ayurvedic practitioner, and then he said, "Well, you're definitely Vata," and I just realized that's a polite way to say you talk a lot.
Your Vata very airy. There's a lot going on. Yeah, so the relationship with the guru is quite unique and it's very, very personal. And and that's another point as well about the culture of ISKCON and gurus in our society. Hopefully, it's hoped in the future there'll be more gurus available locally, so you don't have to save up £500 to go and meet your guru.
Yes.
It should be more local traditionally, but ISKCON is the way it is at the moment. But hopefully we get more homegrown near
It'd
to.
be nice to get one in Hertfordshire or Dorchester or Dorset, be better.
Yeah. Okay.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
For that, your approval. Very much appreciated. All right. So now in the time that we have left, we're going into chapter 9, qualities of pure devotional service. This is more or less coming directly from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or mostly we recognize it as a nectar of devotion by Prabhupada. Yeah, more or less it's taken from there. So speaking about pure devotional service, there's a word called sadhya. If you're not familiar with that, it's a good word to try and remember. Sadhya means the goal. And anyone knows what's the word for the means to attain the goal? Sadhya is the goal, and the means to attain it in Sanskrit is? When I say it again, you're going to, oh, yes, I know that. Sadhana. See, sadhana means the process to attain sadhya. So now in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami, he breaks pure devotional service, the pure devotional service into 3 stages. I'll ask another question. Anyone say what those 3 stages might be? we've mentioned one, the first one. Sadhana, bhava, and prema. Okay, so try and get familiar with that. That's Rupa Goswami's presentation. He speaks about these three stages. As different, you can categorize devotional service in different ways, but Rupa Goswami here, he mentions so sadhana, bhava, and prema. Yeah, so, and he gives 6 distinguishing characteristics of these 6 stages, 2 for each. So some of you might have heard of this or know where we're going. So here we have them here. I just created this slide just before we opened up today. I was tapping away and copying and pasting and to make it more easy to understand. So these are the 6 characteristics of pure devotional service. Numbers 1 and 2 are in relation to sadhana. Okay. Numbers 3 and 4 are in relation to bhava. Number 5 and 6 is in relation to prema. Okay. So we have, yeah. Here's the sense. Some of you, these terms you're going to hear perhaps mentioned in class, so you might want to get familiar with them. Sometimes it's often mentioned. So kleshagni means relief from material distress, and we'll discuss a bit about that today in the time that we have left. Subhada, beginning of all auspiciousness. Moksha, lakhu minimizes the value of liberation. This is bhava. Surdulabha is rarely achieved. And prema, Chandrana Atma, Visheshatma, puts one in transcendental pleasure. And Krishna, Sri Krishna Kashini, it only means to attract Krishna. Okay. Now, okay, we follow so far. It's there in the next devotion. You can read about it there more. So freedom from distress. This is the first one. This manifests at the stage of sadhana. So the beginning stages, the practice of devotional service. Now, we got to be patient because it may come, but generally relief from the sufferings of the world, and there's quite a few out there to choose from, but relief from material life, it may not come all at once. Yeah. Now these first two, kleshagni, which manifest as sadhana and beginning of all auspiciousness, these are going to really make themselves felt when one is steady, when one is practicing steady devotional service. Yeah, so it's not going to come at once. So it's going to manifest in proportion to your progress in the practice of Krishna consciousness. Yeah. So only at the stage of firm practice, that's called nishta, do they become fully manifest. Yeah. And also the second, kind of obviously in one sense, auspiciousness depends on the first. Yeah, being free of distress, being free of material distress. And I'm sure we have experienced it, everyone tuned in here, I'm sure we have experienced that. You come in touch with Krishna consciousness, and hopefully we can feel relief. You know? But still, there may be some residual distresses which may haunt us, like, could I say ghosts, you know? But as we become more steady in our practice of Krishna consciousness, we will experience a more auspicious existence on this planet, you know? Things will become more brighter. Things will become more positive. One that we will feel wonderful in one sense, you know? So, because we're practicing Krishna consciousness, we're practicing the principles of Krishna consciousness, we're eating prasadam, we're doing everything we should do as spirit souls. So that's going to fill us with a certain type of wonderful experience, which is called kleshagni, and here subhata. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, I remember I sort of give myself an example. I'm still struggling to get to sadhaka, so to speak, but I definitely experienced it myself when I joined the temple and I began to wake up early in the morning. I began to practice and associate with devotees. I had never had much association before. I kind of went to the temple and joined a week later. You know, the experience was quite profound actually when I started to experience after some time, a few weeks, a few months, things like that. You know, then I can remember my mother came to see me and she was even astonished at the transformation in me, you know. You know, she was happy, you know. She couldn't really understand it, but she could see I was happy. She could see it. I was like glowing with happiness, you know, from being in the temple for about 6 months and she came to see me, you know. So auspicious, yeah. So now then, you know, as one practice matures, and then hope, yeah, one's spiritual progress accelerates, then a second pair of qualities will manifest, the bhava, and then later the last two stages of prema. But putting that aside for now, there might be upcoming events in our spiritual life. Okay. But okay, so how to get free? Um, any questions along the way? Please feel free to ask any comments. Yeah. So, how to gain relief from distress caused by past deeds, right? So, past activities. So, it's still we still got some stuff coming. Yeah. So, how to be free of that distress from that? So, it means we should take full shelter. And there's a certain potency that comes from devotional service. So, we have to take full shelter in that. Take full shelter of Krishna consciousness and everything it means. So then we're going to be protected from the past results of past deeds that are going to come at us in what way Krishna chooses. Yeah, we follow? So that's one thing. We be fully situated in the practice of Krishna consciousness, and we should not create further misery, so to speak. We must also avoid creating further misery for ourselves by engaging again in those sinful activities that we used to do before we came into the association of devotees, you know. So then we follow so far? Yeah. So Marge mentions here, no one can gain release from the labyrinth, and we describe that labyrinth in the couple of minutes we have left, of cause and effect without stopping the cause. Okay. We're stopping the cause. So, okay, we've come to devotion. Now we stop. Now we follow Dharma. So we just got to deal with the stuff that we've done in the past. We're not accumulating more. Yeah. We got to kind of pull the plug on the fan and it's going to slow down. Yeah. So then, Nectar Devotion, Bhakti Rasmrita Sindhu, it gets into this. Rupa Goswami gets into this labyrinth. Where does it all begin? So it begins in avidya. Avidya means ignorance. So that's why people engage in horrible, described in 60 unbeneficial works. That's why people engage in irreligious activities because they're just in ignorance. They've got no idea of the universal law of justice that is all pervading. So they will engage in irreligious activities. Yeah. So from that is going to come to from that activity or from ignorance, sorry, it's going to come, one's going to engage in sinful activity called pup. Yeah. And also from that, there's going to be a bija. It's going to, a bija is like a seed. The proclivity to engage in sinful acts comes from engaging in sinful acts. Because of ignorance, we engage in sinful acts. you engage in a sinful act, it will kind of cause a proclivity for doing that act more. Yeah. It will cause there be a rope will be formed. You follow? Now, perhaps I should have put this on like a type of chart, but so the reaction to sinful activities are two. There's called parabdha, those already visible, and those that are unmanifest, the formative stage. So they're just waiting. Yeah, they're waiting, so waiting to manifest, perhaps in the next life. Yeah. So the manifest, the a parabdha karma is called, is the body that we have. So this body is a example of fully manifest reactions to material life in our last life. Bingo, we got another material body. Well done. No, not well done. We have got it because we worked hard for it, material in our last life. So we've got another material body. Now, I think perhaps we might stop here. It's 7 o'clock, and perhaps I might just find some slides to put this up so we can more perhaps easily understand it. But we got the basic point from distress. It comes from ignorance. In ignorance, one engages in dharmic activities. That causes a proclivity to engage in more dharmic activities. It creates a seed, and it creates a proclivity again. So the way for stopping that, as we will conclude, actually is to take shelter of the process of devotional service. Yeah. Okay. So let's pause there. Let's not stop. And we'll continue next week on this. Yeah. And next week, we'll probably look at this as well. We have to discuss this. It comes up a couple of times in the Suddha Bhakti Cintamani, Vaishnava Parad. And then we'll discuss the other symptoms, the other 6 symptoms given by Rupa Goswami. Okay. So thank you so much, everyone, for your kind attention. And look, any closing comments or questions?
Yes, Grace Murli Manor Prabhu ki jai.
Yay, Hari Bol.
Vijay
Thank you
Krishna.
so much.
Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Vijay,
Hare Krishna.
comment?
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you
perhaps
very
just okay. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful devotional weekend. And hope to see you.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Oh, quick, Vijay, go ahead.
Yes, a very quick comment or question, because when you approach the subject, is it that it is necessary for a spiritual master for him to be an Uttamadhikari? It came to my mind.
Well, it's definitely helpful if he can give better direction because he
Yes,
good
but
knowledge.
my question would be related to the how Srila Prabhupada presented himself to the whole world, to his disciples and to the whole world in name of his mission in favor of Lord Chaitanya's movement. Is it that there is any record of Srila Prabhupada mentioning, presenting himself as an Uttamadhikari, or like himself saying openly, "Oh, I am a pure devotee"? Is it that there is any record of that happening?
No, mystically, obviously, such a Vaishnava, one of the symptoms of such a Vaishnava is that they're deep in the mystical quality of humility. As though they see they're so advanced, they actually perceive themselves as being not very advanced. So it's quite mystical. But Prabhupada did say, when one time he explained to one disciple, I think it was Brahmananda, perhaps Ramana Sukha might know, where he described that Krishna personally told him to come from the spiritual world down here to the material world. And Prabhupada was not very keen on that idea. But Krishna reassured him, you don't worry, you just go and write your books and I'll take care of everything else. So that's one particular story about Prabhupada kind of in an indirect way giving some indication of his status.
Yes, and that what amazes me is that, and also confuses me, is that why would we want to be worried about how advanced the spiritual master is when he himself doesn't consider himself as advanced? Yes, we are entitled to observe the behavior of the spiritual master. We choose for him to take us back home, back to Godhead. There is a period of time related to exchanging with the spiritual master, observing if the relationship is productive in the sense that you feel comfortable having him as the guru who will take you back home, back to Godhead. But at the same time, it's not expected for the spiritual master to talk about himself in such a way that, oh, I am like, in terms of spiritual advancement, we are not expecting for him to say even a word about how advanced he is.
Yeah, it's almost mystical. So, and if he is in the habit of that, that's probably a good sign he's not. So it's
Sorry?
if he is advertising himself as a topmost Mahabhagavat, then that might be a reason to have some, might be proof that he's not. So some of these things are quite mystical in one sense. So you're going to have to rely on the inner guide within your heart to actually give you the intelligence to make this type of this to be able to discern when it comes to taking shelter from the spiritual master. It goes beyond book knowledge. It's got to come from somewhere deep, where, okay, he's not proclaiming himself to be this or that, but just by his presence, you're feeling so inspired in your heart that for you, you're so inspired by him that you've got deep faith that he is advanced and that he can guide you in spiritual life. It's mystical. You have to go kind of beyond just book knowledge,
Yes, and do you think that Lord Krishna helps for us to be...
Definitely, as we said, by the grace of Krishna, one gets guru.
Yes.
So Krishna's gonna, he's there in your heart. He's gonna switch some switches on for you. If you're,
of course,
if you're sincere, and you're gonna, even though he's not got a placard saying, yes, take shelter from me, I'm a topmost devotee. Just so you know, you may be in a kirtan or in a class and you get inspired and tears come, it may be, you just may feel ecstatic and free. We could go on and on. It's going to come from Krishna. It's a mystery. It's a journey of self-discovery. Okay.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
No problem. So thank you for that interesting point, Lars. Okay. Thank you, dear devotees. Have a wonderful evening and a wonderful devotional weekend again. Hare Krishna. See you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhupada ki jai. Nagora Parimanandi. Hare Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Ram. Hare Ram. Ram Ram. Hare.